We'll go ahead and open the Wednesday, September 7th, 2022 Commission meeting of the Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Commission. We're meeting by teleconference today, and we're calling the meeting to order at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And we're going to request all commissioners and staff to keep your microphones muted unless you're speaking. And because we're using Zoom, we will be calling on individual members for their comments. As we go through, please use your raise hand feature if you need to speak at any other point during the meeting. With that, Amber, can we get roll call, please?
All right, Chair Morgan.
I'm here.
Vice Chair Manfor is not here. Commissioner Duncan.
Here.
Commissioner Griffin is absent. Commissioner Nunley.
Here.
Commissioner Osmany is absent. Commissioner Ramos.
Here.
Commissioner Ross.
Here.
Commissioner Stajabu, sorry.
Here.
Commissioner Starks.
Yes.
And Commissioner Wu.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. First off, we're going to have public comment follow-up report. That'll be our item number 1. Go ahead.
We have Mary Liz who has that report for you.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and just jump right on in. So we did receive comments from one of our landlords at the last meeting. We have provided a response in writing, as well as provided a copy of that to you, all the commissioners. I believe, Amber, you sent that out prior to the meeting. And then in addition to that, we have an item on the agenda where we're going to go in depth and talk about the SHRA program. Mary Liz will be talking about that, as well as covering it in her budget presentation as well. So we will be having lots of discussion about where we are and the status of the program.
All right. So, are there any public comments for today?
All right, I'll read the public comment wording. Persons wishing to address the commission on subjects not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the commission may do so at this time. The commission cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda for this meeting, but commissioners may briefly respond to statements made or questions raised by the public, ask for clarification from staff, refer the matter to staff, or request staff to report back to the commission at a subsequent meeting. Members of the public with questions are encouraged to contact staff before or after the meeting. To speak on an agenda item, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 on your phone. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes per item. And let's see. I have no hands raised, so I do not have any public comments at this time.
All right, very good. So we move on to consent items. And you read the consent.
Yes, all matters listed on consent are to be approved with one motion unless a commissioner or the public requests that separate action be taken on a specific item. And we have just approval of commission minutes for August 17th, 2022.
Okay. There's no objection. We'll have the clerk go ahead and do roll call for approval of consent.
Could we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
All right. So Chair Morgan.
Aye.
Vice Chair Manfor. He's not here. Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Commissioner Nunley.
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos.
Aye.
Commissioner Ross.
Aye.
Commissioner Stajabu.
Aye.
Commissioner Starks.
Yes.
And Commissioner Wu.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take us on to public hearing item number 2, the 2023 annual public housing plan for the Housing Authority of the City of Sacramento, HACS, and the Housing Authority of the County of Sacramento, HACOS, submission of the 2023 Public Housing Agency Plan, Admissions and Occupancy Policy, and Administrative Plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
All right, and I'm going to bring in Maria and Trish.
Okay. Maria, are you going first or is Trish going first?
Trish is speaking first today.
Okay. I don't see Trish on my screen.
Yeah, I'm
So
trying
maybe-
to, I
maybe-
keep pushing the button to bring her. It's taking a second. It's loading.
All right.
Sorry. I mean,
So Maria, did you want to just go ahead and jump right
Yeah.
in? Okay,
No
thank you.
problem. I'll let her save some time. Good afternoon, Chair Morgan and members of the commission. My name is Maria F. Dallas, and I'm a program integrity analyst for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. The Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan provides a comprehensive guide to the Housing Authority's policies, operations, and strategies for meeting local housing needs and goals consistent with the Housing Authority's overall goal to improve operating efficiencies and service to residents. It is reviewed and updated annually with input from the public. Today, I'm presenting the changes proposed for the 2023 Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. The proposed changes are listed on the website and included in the commissioner's packets and include the following: updating the displaced family preference to align with regulations, updating rent burden definition to exclude individuals and families in temporary motels, as these individuals and families would be considered homeless instead of rent burdened, adding description of the Foster Youth Independence FYI program vouchers, adding clarification that an unborn child is considered when determining the voucher size when there is no other family members in the household, adding clarification for temporary placement of a minor with a non-parent, clarified all financial accounts that generate income is counted, expanding the list of types of asset accounts, explained that when proposed gross rent is not reasonable, the PHA does not negotiate rent, but instead notifies the owners of the maximum approved amount, updating the homeless definition in the glossary, adding long-term placement definition to the glossary, adding non-parent definition to the glossary, and updating the language access plan. The annual plan, including the admin plan, and these proposed changes were made available to the public on July 25th, 2022. SHRA staff consulted with Resident Advisory Board and Legal Services of Northern California to review these changes. The RAB, the Resident Advisory Board, submitted a letter endorsing these changes. Public comments were received from Legal Services of Northern California, which we will respond at our next commission meeting. I appreciate your time.
Okay, so maybe Trish, you can go ahead and jump in from the public housing side of things.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, Chair Morgan and members of the commission. My name is Patricia Simpson, and I'm one of the management analysts for the Housing Authority. This afternoon, I will be presenting the proposed significant changes to the 2023 Public Housing Agency Plan, which includes the admissions and continued occupancy policy and the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. The Public Housing Agency Plan is a comprehensive guide to the Housing Authority's policies, operations, and strategies for meeting local housing needs and objectives that are consistent with the Housing Authority's overall goal, which is to improve our operating efficiencies and service to our residents. There are 5 proposed changes to the 2023 ACOP. The language includes the addition of 1, the use of electronic signatures as needed. 2, resident obligations regarding the operation of in-home daycares. 3, the modification of terms and conditions of repayment agreements. 4, the new rent reporting program required by California Senate Bill 1157 for owners and operators of affordable housing. And 5, the use and placement of resident-owned cameras or personal recording devices. This completes the list of the significant changes to the 2023 admissions and continued occupancy policy that we are requesting at this time. And today we are asking for your consideration of these changes. Since July 25th, all the documents regarding this request have been available to the public and no comments were received from the public. Recently, we consulted with the Resident Advisory Board and received their letter of support. We also met with the Legal Services of Northern California regarding our proposed changes, And this afternoon, we received a letter from Legal Services right before this meeting. Thus, we will review and discuss our responses at the next commission meeting. So thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you for both of you. We're taking no action at this point in time. So with that, we will go ahead, we will review this at our next meeting for approval. So if we could go on to discussion business item 3, which is the authorizing public meetings to be held via teleconference under Government Code Section 54953E and making findings determination regarding the same.
Chair Morgan, I think that Commissioner Nunley had a question. Was that you raising your hand?
Yes, sorry. And we need to open the public hearing. We have to have a public hearing and open and close it for public comment. Sorry.
Okay. I will back up. We open the public hearing for the previous item. Any public comments on that item?
We have no public comments, so you can close the public hearing.
Phil, did you wish to speak on this item?
Yeah, I just, oops, am I on? Yeah, okay. I thought I was still mute, sorry. The only question that I really had, and it's more maybe semantics, but I think you guys probably did something with it with regards to, you said that you consulted attorneys on it. And it was on section 5 about resident-owned cameras. When I first read that, you know, my thinking, and I'm sure I'm old school, I went, well, you're saying that if I go buy a camera, I can't just do whatever. But I think what you're specifically talking about here is either security type cameras, like where it says the Ring devices or something like that. So is it primarily security, or is it also maybe people get into social media? I guess it's a little confusing to me when it just says resident-owned cameras.
Okay, I can help answer that question. So the reason we brought up this issue is because more and more residents are purchasing resident-owned cameras for their own safety and security. And so we wanted to put some guidelines together for installing those in their residences.
So I guess.
So I just want to mention also that the Resident Advisory Board did speak to the Housing Authority on that, and the general consensus of that conversation was that we don't mind people having cameras, they just can't use them to peer inside somebody else's unit.
Right. Yeah, I got that. I wouldn't want that either. It just seemed a little, so it's regarding owning and operating resident-owned cameras. So it doesn't even matter if it's a loose camera or anything like that. Any type of camera, they have to follow certain guidelines, I guess is what it's saying. Do I have that right? I just want to be sure.
Yes, that's correct. It's the cameras that they use within their dwelling.
All right, thank you. Like I said, I just kind of was like, and now I have to go and ask somebody, can I use a camera? That seems a little odd, but.
The ones in their dwellings, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Wow.
You have a right to use a camera in public, but you don't have a right to use it in somebody else's private space, essentially. Okay. With that, then we will go ahead with the next item, which is authorizing public meetings to be held via teleconferencing under Government Code Section 54953E and making findings and determination regarding the same.
Okay, and here we are just recommending that we approve teleconference meetings for another 30 days. We're still working on cameras and don't have much of a update for you on that. We're still working on it. So we don't have a time frame yet for that.
So moved. Second.
Okay, sorry, I missed I missed who made the move. Was that
Sam,
Wu? Okay. And then that was seconded by,
Wu.
okay. All right. And then,
They were correct. Roll call, please.
yes, so I'll do a roll call. Chair Morgan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Manfor has joined us.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Commissioner Griffin is absent, sorry. Commissioner Nunley,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos,
Aye.
Commissioner Ross,
Aye.
Commissioner Stajabu,
Aye.
Commissioner Starks,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wu.
Aye.
Okay, passed.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll try not to skip over any raised hands in the future. I'm not used to one small screen. I'm used to two big screens over here. So, SHRA program update.
You're good to go.
Okay, good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Mary Liz Paulson, and I am a director here for the Housing Choice Voucher Program and the Sacramento Emergency Rental Assistance Program called the SHRA program. Today, I will be giving a presentation on the budget for 2023 for both the Housing Choice Voucher, HCV program, Homeless Innovations, and the SHRA program. So
You can do the SHRA program update first.
yes, regarding the SHRA update, I think that was on the agenda ahead of this. And just for folks to remember, we had one of our landlords, Mr. Qualset, spoke during our public comment period last time. There was a letter that was sent to him and was sent to the commissioners also in response to that. So I'm going to cover the SHRA program as part of this budget presentation, but I will not address that separately. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started on the budget presentation. So the Homeless Innovation Program and the Housing Choice Voucher Program are both in the business of paying landlords. Here you can see the cost of the administration of the HCV and Homeless Innovation Programs relative to the amount of funds that we disperse. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Housing Choice Voucher Program. I know we have some folks who are new here. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the terminology and the relationships. So this schematic is one of my favorites, and it really shows the relationship between the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program, the tenant, and the landlord. There is a formal relationship between each of these parties. So between the Housing Choice Voucher Program and the tenant, we have a voucher. The voucher is given to the family once they are determined eligible. So typically a family would apply on the wait list, get pulled off. We go through the eligibility process. They're issued a voucher. They take that voucher and they go out into the community and they look for a unit that is for rent where the landlord is willing to take the voucher. The voucher is a commitment from the Housing Authority to pay a portion of the rent. The portion is based on the family's income. The family pays about 30% of their income, whatever it is, to rent, and the Housing Authority pays the difference. So the voucher can be very, very valuable monetarily. If the family has zero income, the voucher represents all of the rent. If the family is working or has multiple people in the household working, it may represent a lesser dollar amount, but is still critical to the family being able to utilize and afford rent. Then the family goes out into the community and finds a landlord. And actually, let me say also that within the families that are participating in the program, more than 40% of the families have an elderly family member in the household. About 75% of the families have a disabled household member, and about 20% of the families have income from employment also. So our families are low income from a variety of backgrounds, but then they get the voucher, they go out to the landlord, they find a landlord that is willing to take the voucher, and they enter into a lease with the landlord. Notice that the voucher, the Section 8 program, is not party to the lease. That's between the landlord and the tenant. Then once the landlord agrees to take the voucher, then the landlord enters into a contract with the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. We call that a HAP contract. HAP is Housing Assistance Payment. So when the landlord enters into this contract, then we, the housing authority, agree to pay a portion of the rent. And the landlord agrees to abide by the rules. And so there are some inspections, for example, there are some additional efforts that the landlord has to comply with in order to get the HAP contract. So it ends up being mutually beneficial to everybody. The next thing I'd like to talk about is really describing the difference between tenant-based and project-based vouchers. And these are terms that you'll hear throughout the year as we talk about the Housing Choice Voucher Program. On the left, we have tenant-based vouchers. So this is where the family gets the voucher, they go out into the community and they look for a unit. When they move from one unit to another, the voucher goes with them. So, and that's why we say it's tenant-based, it belongs to the tenant. On the other hand, we have project-based vouchers where the assistance remains with the unit. So when the family leaves the unit, when they move out, they leave that assistance behind. So our project-based voucher are typically assigned to different complexes. And so some of the examples that you might recognize, Phoenix Park, for example, that you've heard about, was one of our first project-based voucher locations. Our SHRP units that you hear about are also project-based. As we're moving through the RAD program, the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, those are project-based also. And you will hear more about that coming up because we continue to use project basing as a way of making units affordable. Next, I'd like to talk about some of the accomplishments within the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So one of them is we have recently redone sacwaitlist.com. This is the central place where anybody who is looking for rental assistance would go to apply. If you haven't gone recently, you should, because this is a very vibrant, very lively, it's a beautiful new site. It has pictures of many of our properties, lists all the wait lists, it lists how to apply and how to be eligible. So we tested that out. We launched the sacwaitlist.com, then we opened the wait list in January. And as you've heard, we had more than 23,000 families apply for housing assistance. As you know, we randomly had a computer select 5,000 that were to go on the wait list. And this is a number that we thought we could reasonably serve in a 3-year time period. We continue to promote the resident portal. And so the resident portal is a place where families can go and take care of much of their business with the housing authority. So they don't have to come into the office or call, but they can report changes in income, changes in household. They can put in a request to move, and they can put in a request to speak with their caseworker. We actually have received over 8,600 requests to speak with their caseworker through the resident portal. So we're excited by how many families have chosen to communicate this way and continue to encourage participation. Our landlord portal also has continued to be enhanced and is available for landlords to do business with us so they can see information about their property and their tenant and the payments that they are receiving. The next slide here is showing our voucher utilization. And so what that means is we have about 13,000 vouchers that are available to be used. We currently have a lease up of about 11,400. And so that gap, the difference between the two, is where we are working to decrease. So you can see we are estimating in 2023 for that utilization rate to increase. Currently, we're utilizing about 90% of our vouchers, and it's gone down recently because the housing market is so tight. It's really hard for families to find units at all, and units that are affordable. There's good news on the horizon though. We just received the new fair market rents. They come out annually from HUD and they're quite a bit higher than they had been. So we are very hopeful that families will be able to have opportunities to find more units and to lease up now in this next year. So that's good news. As we look ahead, again, some of the things that we want to do is increase our lease up. We were just talking about. We are utilizing new technology to automate the move process so that the move is easier for families and for landlords to participate in the program. We are continuing to build the applicant portal. We talked about the resident portal and the landlord portal. The applicant portal is kind of the third leg of that. And so that is coming up. We're implementing a new phone system, and we are working on, and we'll be launching soon, a way for folks who are wanting to schedule appointments to see their caseworker to do that themselves, to have a self-scheduling process. So we're excited about that, and that's coming soon. So within the Housing Choice Voucher Program, we have a great team of 2 program managers, 8 supervisors, and a total of about 70 staff. So these are amazing folks, really, really committed to what they're doing, work really hard at continuing to serve the 11,000 families that use the voucher. The 11,000 families that are currently participating represent more than 26,000 people who are benefiting from the program, who have a safe place to sleep every night. We're going to transition and talk about the Homeless Innovations programs. We launched this back in 2020 when SHRA was starting to be involved in some of our shelters. So some of the main programs that are overseen by the Homeless Innovations Unit are voucher programs that specifically target and serve homeless families. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The Shelter Plus Care program and our shelters, which utilize tiny homes and the navigation centers. So we'll talk about each one of those. Within our voucher programs, we have programs that are serving homeless veterans, our VASH program. This is a program that's growing. You will hear more about that, but we continue to increase our lease up, so are doing more outreach in partnership with the VA to house homeless veterans. We receive referrals from the city and the county to house families, and through their programs have leased up over 450 families there. We have launched a program called Move On, and this is a program that helps families who need a lot of additional services in order to remain stably housed. Once they have become stabilized, then they can move out of that supported housing into a regular housing choice voucher that's creating flow or opportunities for other families who may be on the streets who need additional services, mental health services, drug intervention services, and so on, in order to be able to live independently. So we can take 50 families, and so we're in the process now of working there. The Family Unification Program is a program that's helping either families who have children who are out of the home because of lack of housing is a determining factor as to when the children can be brought back in, or it's helping, and it's not an or, and there are families who are youth aging out of foster care who are homeless. So there's 2 populations that are served in the Family Unification Program. We have families, as you can see, participating there. And then you've heard about our emergency housing vouchers when we had a guest speaker last meeting, I believe, Jamina, who was one of our folks who have been housed. We currently have 151 families leased up in that program. Next, I'd like to talk about Shelter Plus Care. This is a program. It's not funded, and it's not funded from the Housing Choice Voucher Program. It's a different program. It's unique in that we compete along with all sorts of other programs that provide housing throughout Sacramento County. It's a competition that is nationally based. So throughout various communities in the country, there is this competition held. We have been working diligently so that we have been successful. I won't say lucky because it's a lot of work to apply and receive the funding so that we have a tenant-based program that is housing 497, almost 500 families. And then we have 2 sites, the Budget Inn, currently known as Boulevard Court, and Shasta Hotel, where we currently have families who are also benefiting from these programs. And these are folks who, because they're living in the sites, get supportive services again and get assistance in being able to live independently. So these are really high need, the high need population that's being served. In addition to that, the Homeless Innovations Department is overseeing 3 shelters, the Emergency Bridge Housing Program. And remember, this is the program serving TAY, transition aged youth. It opened in June 10th, 2020. Then we have the Meadowview Navigation Center that opened October 1st of 2020, so almost 2 years old, serving homeless women. And then the X Street Shelter that opened more recently, that's our newest program. It opened almost a year ago, September 21st of 2021, and serves adults, both male and female, at that shelter. And our Homeless Innovations Department is 1 program manager and 19 staff. These include staff who are out located in the shelters, as well as folks who are overseeing the Shelter Plus Care, the Voucher program, and the other programs I've mentioned. Again, really, really committed, hardworking folks who do a great job. I really wish you could see and we could introduce them all, but we'll have to save that to when we're meeting in person again next year. So I couldn't leave out the Communication Center team. This is a group that really, really support all of our HCV and Homeless Innovations departments, as well as our SHRA program. And you can see they are kept really busy. We have 5 staff working in HCV and 5 on the SHRA team. They're cross-trained, and so they help out each other as needed, but they're all kept really busy answering, as you can see, the calls. The SHRA team also answers emails, especially when we were starting. And so they've answered approaching 15,000 emails this year, just in 2022. So really good team there again. So now we're going to talk about the SHRA program. So the SHRA program was funded by 2 pieces of legislation. The ERA is Emergency Rental Assistance, and we talk about Emergency Rental Assistance Round 1 that President Trump signed in December of 2020, when he signed the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021. Then President Biden signed in March of 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act. Both of these legislation, both of these laws made funds available to help families who were having housing issues as a result of or during the time of the COVID pandemic. So the whole purpose of the funds were to create housing or to keep people who were stably housed. So as opposed to our homeless programs, this is a homeless prevention program. So we were trying to, and the legislation was intended to keep people housed so that they didn't become homeless. So you can see here that in Sacramento County, both the city and the county were the eligible entities to apply for the funds. So SHRA did not receive the funds directly, but both the city and the county chose to have SHRA manage the programs on their behalf. They received both funds from the city and, I'm sorry, from the feds and from the state. So in total, the city, as you can see, received $57 million to be dispersed and has dispersed most of that. The county had received $124 million for a total of funds that go directly to the landlord in the amount of $182 million. Just a lot of funds there to help the families in need. At a high level, if we look at the SHRA program, when we started, we opened applications in February of 2021. And the application portal is still open. We're continuing to receive applications to this date. We have received over 45,000 applications in total. Of the 45,000, about 11,000 have been determined ineligible for various reasons. I'm always asked the most common reason. The most common reason is because people don't respond for all sorts of reasons. Their situation has changed and many don't need it. We have heard responses from folks who said that they need it, but they found work and so it's no longer needed. We have funded 18,000 applications and we have about 16,000 applications still pending. So when a landlord goes to court to evict a tenant for non-payment of rent, there's a form they fill out with the court, and there's a checkbox asking if they or their tenant have applied for emergency rental assistance. If they check that they have, then the court calls us and checks on the status of that. If we are in process with the application, we will do everything we can to get that processed before they go to court. Many times we've already dispersed the funds and we tell the judge that. We've gotten calls from the court when the judge is in session and has staff calling, and so we will answer their questions. But as a result, we have answered questions on over 700 cases. And to my knowledge, nobody that has gone to court who is working with the SHRA program has been evicted. So these are families that are in court that without the SHRA program would have been evicted. And again, within our SHRA team, we've just got folks that are working hard. They're working overtime. They're doing just crazy work and I'm saying that because this is a program that was launched in just over 12 months. We went from nothing to being able to disperse, as you saw on the earlier charts, $140 million to over 14,000 households in the community that are in need of housing. So really have done an exceptional job implementing the program and then seeing it through. And this next slide is a little bit busy, but I wanted to give you a flavor of some of the families that have received assistance from the SHRA program. When we send out the notice saying that their funds are on their way, we send out a disbursement email saying the check is in the mail, quite literally. And included is a link to a survey. And so we ask folks to tell us how the SHRA program assisted you. And all of these responses and many others that I didn't put up there are responses that we've received in the last 2 weeks. So these are our very current responses, just thanking us. And I'm thanking you, commissioners, as extensions of us and supporters of what we do, and really the backbone of what we're doing here, for your commitment to supporting SHRA and the programs that we do, including the Housing Choice Voucher Program, the Homeless Innovation Program, and the SHRA program. So thank you very much, and I'm available for questions. I'm going to just go forward so you can see questions, and I'll go back in case anybody is still taking a look at the comments there. That concludes my presentation. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. There we go. Thank you very much, and we will go to commissioners. I'll start with Martin Ross. Martin, go ahead.
Okay, hey, thank you. Great presentation. It's exciting. Love the testimonies and so forth. I do have one question, and I'm really glad to hear that no one who has gone to court has been evicted. My question, and it may have been answered in previous meetings, I just wanted to get some clarification. It's just on the communication to all residents who might be part of the assistance program, and to make sure that they are all aware that they can hold their ground if the landlord's putting pressure on them, and that they can say, hold your ground till you get to court, and then we'll get a call. So have they all received like a letter, communication, or something to that effect? Because I'm concerned that there may be individuals that aren't aware, and they succumb to the pressure from the landlord, and then they end up getting evicted and they don't have to be.
And I appreciate your concern, and I share your concern. You're correct. We have not messaged everybody on our wait list, but what we have tried to put information on our website. And as we talk to folks as they're calling through, we try to tell people not to self-evict. Don't leave your unit before you've gone through the process. And so we've tried to do some education. Also, we refer to, the court has a really good landing page that explains the eviction process, and there's help at the court. And then legal services also has a self-help desk at the court to help answer questions. Some of that is a little bit late, I understand, but it's really hard to send out a message to everybody when that list is changing all the time because it's still open and we're still having people apply. But we are trying to get the word out to folks.
Do they all, okay, because given the, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm curious, other methods that may be cheaper, maybe a letter's not, you know, doesn't have to be sent in paper, but do our communiques sent out to folks in the programs via text message or via email? Just something that would say, because some people just don't have the technology.
Yeah.
Right. If you're saying, hey, they're going to go to the website, well, we already know we have technology gaps with folks. They may not have that. They may not be thinking of that. They're just falling under the pressure. Is there a way that an email or a text message can be sent to folks to say, hey, go to our website, or you don't have to leave? I mean, that would be great advocacy if that could be done.
Yeah, that's something that we can look into and look at also. We also have worked with partnering groups throughout the city and the county. I don't know if you remember, what we had contracts with 14 service and community service organizations that helped us get the word out, that could help people who didn't have access to a computer or didn't know how to apply. They serve folks who are not only in the target areas, which are low income areas that end up having a disproportionate impact from COVID, from the virus, but they also help folks who are non-native English speakers. And so again, we worked with quite a large number of folks to help us get the word out through their constituents or community activities, as they have fairs and activities to get the word out. So we can utilize them also. And so I think you have a good point, a valid concern, and that's something that we can look at.
Okay, that would be great. I mean, if I just, it's something that when it came up, at my particular agency, I've heard that people have come in, and I've told staff to say, hey, let them know. But everybody just didn't know. They were panicking, and they were saying, hey, Martin, you're on SHRA. What do we do? What do we do? And so I don't know if you can, and if you're able to report back to the commission and just to say, hey, that's a great. I mean, I don't know. I will stop asking questions, because at least a communication went out to them, and they all. I mean, I'm not going to say they all should know, but there was an attempt. I mean, if I got something from SHRA and they were my housing funder, I would read what they sent. So I hope they would. And if they didn't have a translator, then maybe they would go to one of their friends or family to translate if they couldn't read it. But at least they got a notification.
Good. I want to say one more thing about your comment, and that is, you said because they know that SHRA is their funder. And so the families that we're serving on the SHRA program, for the most part, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, don't have any interaction with SHRA or haven't prior to COVID. And so this is and for the most part, it's a different population. So to your point, it would be good to communicate, but these are folks who are not not already associated with our other housing programs.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Yeah, so hence even more reason. Yeah. Anyway, if you can, email's free, so it won't cost you guys anything. So thank you so much.
All right, any other questions of commissioners? Okay, I have one question, Mary Liz. You had one of your slides mentioned the lease up rate of the vouchers, and you're down to 90% right now. what is the optimal number that the agency strives for? Is it 95?
If we were able to control it, we would be at 100% all the time. That's the goal. We try and get between 98 and 100 is really the target. We have thousands of people. Currently we have about 1,400 households who have a voucher in hand that are looking for a unit. And so we've got folks who are coming on the program and off the program and moving between units all the time. So it's really a number that changes by the minute, but we really work to be between 98 and 100, and 100 is the sweet spot, is the ideal. Now you can't go over. So that's why I'm saying that. So there are problems if you exceed the 100% utilization, but.
Okay. Martin, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
What does, forgive me, I'm maybe not understanding. What does lease up mean? What does that mean?
That means the family, has a voucher, has a unit, and the landlord is actively receiving the subsidy. So they've leased up and the subsidy is flowing, as opposed to families who have a voucher who are out on the street looking for a unit or moving between a unit, but there's no subsidy flowing because they haven't leased using that voucher.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Amber, is there any public comment on this item?
There is not.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mary Liz, and we'll move ahead then on to the budget workshop, housing choice voucher, and homeless innovations.
That's what we just did.
You did both of those items together.
We did those items together, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I didn't realize we had done the other one there. So,
Executive Director report.
Executive Director report, yes.
There you go.
There we go. All right, so good afternoon. Hopefully everybody is trying to stay cool. It's pretty hot here, but we are making the best of it. So as Amber mentioned at the beginning, we're still working on with the camera company on the cameras in our conference room. They still need to order some parts. We're still a few weeks. So we're working on it and we will continue to give you updates. But until then, we'll still be meeting in this webinar format. Our next meeting, which will be via teleconference, is scheduled for September 21st. So I want to make sure that everyone has that on their calendars. And then also, I wanted to mention about a ribbon cutting that we're very, very thrilled about with Vista Nueva. This will be hosted by Councilmember Angelique Ashby and Jamboree Housing. If you recall, this is a home key project where we did purchase a hotel in North Natomas, and we are converting that to permanent housing for families with children. And it will, we'll have that ribbon cutting on Thursday, October 13th at 10:30 a.m. at 140 Promenade Circle in Sacramento. So it was formerly the Staybridge Suites, and now it will be permanent housing. It is a 4-story building. It'll have 63 studios, 39 one-bedrooms, and 14 two-bedroom units. So there's a lot of common space. There's a kitchen, a lounge, a outside area for the kids, and we work in partnership with the City of Sacramento and Jamboree Housing. So we're very, very thrilled about our opportunity to get that project up and running, and invite all of you, if you have time, to really come out and help us celebrate.
What time is it again?
10:30.
10:30, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
October 13th at 10:30 a.m. And that's all I
trust
have.
you'll send us something.
Excuse me?
I trust you'll send us something to remind us.
Oh,
Or email.
yes. Of course, we will as we get closer.
Cool, excellent. All right, thank you very much. From the chairman's report, I'll only remind everybody to stay hydrated. I've got a glass of ice and water with me here today. Of course, I'm in Florida where it's about 10 degrees cooler than it is there.
Oh, just
I'm
rub it
enjoying
in,
my
Gail.
I'm saving all that California electricity for you guys.
Okay,
But
thank you.
do remember to stay hydrated, keep the fluids going. We don't want to lose anybody. And that goes for all of our attendees also. Watch your health as we go forward in this time. And with that, I'll open up to questions and comments of commissioners. That would include baby announcements, weddings, engagements. Nothing? I see no hands. I see no one's jumping up and down. So thank you very much for attending tonight. With that, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.